We got a call in from a friend of ours. She reached out the other day and said, first of all, I need to talk about this thing, and this might make a good topic for the show.
Okay.
So she left this message.
So Drew is going through what we are calling a pivot year, where the relationship is no longer between parent-teacher, but is now on student-teacher. There's some point in a student's career that, teachers no longer give a whether or not they pass or fail. And so it's somewhere between junior high and college, and I think we're just now experiencing that with one of our junior high teachers, who just literally doesn't give a whether or not she passes or fails or whatever. And so it's pretty much on her to care about her grade. And it doesn't matter how much he or I cares about her grade, it's falling on her. And they're not offering too many parent-teacher conferences. Anyway, I thought it was interesting because I'm ready to go to war. This is something that she has to do eventually, especially going into a college career eventually. At what age do you expect that? And for us right now, it's happening at 7th grade. It's an interesting pivoting point with us. So I just wanted to just maybe offer that as a topic because I'm learning as I go.
So that was the deal. There was a couple key phrases in there for me, and that was, I'm ready to go to war.
Yeah, I heard that.
Which is hilarious to me. When we talked, she said, so when did that happen for you? And I was like, 7th grade. Like, you're right on time. That's exactly right. I could tell that the teachers leading up to 7th grade and those conferences the teachers were having amongst themselves before 7th grade, they were using the same phrases that they must have been having in the conferences together, which was, we want the children to become their own advocate, self-advocacy. And I clearly remember that happening in 7th grade.
Okay.
So she's going through the thing that I think is part of the curriculum, is part of the playbook. At 7th grade, we let go of these students and we expect them to stand up for themselves, advocate for themselves. We're going to do less hand-holding. So the teachers get the memo. The kids get the experience, but the parents are like third party to that. And now you've also got COVID. So I don't know how many pre-meetings there are before the school year starts. Do you get to go in the classrooms and meet the teachers? Because when we had those 7th grade talks, the teachers were saying it the nights before school. They were saying, in this year we really want the kids to start advocating for themselves. So I knew. And then we experienced it. It sounds like she didn't get the memo.
So what would you say she should do?
I think that she should definitely fall back. 7th grade is a year where, just like any other year, it's important, whatever is being taught. But it's a year you could mess up.
Yes.
But that's okay. I'm saying it's a year that it's okay to mess up.
Okay.
Like, don't hold the kid to this perfection, because this doesn't really impact what happens going to college, if college is the goal. 7th grade, it's more than just the book knowledge. It's also, how do you advocate for yourself? And you're not going to get that right away. You're going to have to practice that a bit. Now, you have to start as a parent coaching mode a little bit. You have to say, hey, this is the conversation you need to have with your teacher. Not instead of 6th grade, it was like, and give your teacher this note. Or I'm going to email your teacher direct.
Yeah, I'm going to email the teacher,
When we were kids, parents would send a note through you. And now they direct email and stuff. But either way, at this time in 7th grade, it's time that the kids start saying, hey, what do I need, and practicing that voice of their own. And that was my input. What do you think of that?
I can only speak from our experience, and I would say that I think Demi was better at that, maybe because she was a female. With the 2 boys, I found that Mike was pretty quiet, but didn't really need much because he was a person who stayed on top of and in front of most of his work, where Amir was the person where we needed to get involved a lot of the time. And I think we did. I know I did. I got involved a lot, whether we were going to see the teacher or whether we were emailing the teacher, to the point where we knew each other's names back and forth. It got pretty informal. In terms of hands off, that's scary in 7th grade. Like, I think it's different in high school. I have a much more relaxed approach in high school because in hindsight, one, the kid is telling you who they're going to be, right? And you cannot fight that. That is water. The other thing is, either they're going to advocate for themselves or not. One of my thoughts as I'm listening to that recording is, what is the personality of the child? Is the child a person who has this personality that where they stand up for themselves, or is the child quiet? What type of student is the child? Because I think that these type of characteristics all play into what the child's going to do next. For example, I could say for Amir, it wasn't going to happen. He wasn't going to advocate for himself because he really could care less. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's bad. It's just, hey, school really wasn't something he was interested in. So again, it goes down to what child are we dealing with here?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the stakes in 7th grade are way less than they will be later on. The stakes in 7th grade are, do you get to participate in sports? Do you make the middle school honor society, whatever? Do you get to go to the 8th grade banquet or whatever? And the preparation that 7th grade is doing is getting you ready for high school.
Yeah, but I disagree with that, because to kind of dismiss 7th grade and say, well, it's just 7th grade. You know, if they're not looking at your 7th grade transcripts. Yeah, but what you do in 7th grade determines your next year's curriculum and so forth. So like, hey, if you're not doing well in math, then you're not going to get a message from your math teacher that says, hey, listen, we think you're doing so well, we want you to move up to the next.
Yeah, but you're talking about academics. And
Yeah.
I'm not talking about academics.
Oh, I'm all in academics. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying that the development of the person. 7th grade is a sandbox. 7th grade is an opportunity to learn to speak up for yourself. You've been managing academics for all these years, and now you have to manage academics and these social lessons to develop the young adult and who they'll be when they go into high school. But even that, like, you're going to make it through high school. So the stakes aren't as high as, let's say, junior year or senior year in high school, when the stakes are, do I go to college? Am I able to go to college?
How do I behave in college, and how have my habits from high school moved on or not moved on to college?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the scale of all that, then 7th grade is further back from that
Absolutely.
significantly.
I totally agree with that.
Which means that you could not get straight A's if you were having a hard time self-advocating and figuring out how to speak to your teacher and how to negotiate challenges and rough spots.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a really important lesson. And you're not going to get it perfect the first time.
No.
So I think that it's okay to
That's a
hit
work
these
in
bumpy
progress.
spots. And then the other piece on that is, when this is your first child, like it is for them, as she said, I'm learning as I go, and I'm
Yeah.
making stuff up as I go along, right? And that's why I sit behind this microphone,
Yeah.
quite honestly, is because everybody in my family who wants to be a parent or an uncle or auntie down the line doesn't have to reinvent the wheel if we can share what we learned already going through. And I don't find that that's the case. It wasn't the case for us first child through. We had to figure it out. We could ask parents and stuff like that. But now we're putting things in a place where this conversation can get feedback, can be shaped, and can be shared, which is pretty awesome.
Thinking back to Demi going through 7th grade and 8th grade and advocating for herself, like I said before, I'm doubling down on this. I really think that it has a lot to do with the characters of
the child.
Of the child, yeah, because Demi was really hard on herself. If she didn't get a good grade, going back to the teacher and finding out, what can I do? You know, that was something that she internalized, and so she would fight for what she wanted. They don't have to be hard on themselves, but just, you know, sometimes they feel like, I mean, it is what it is. I got what I got. That child is going to need coaching. I agree with that.
To anyone who has got a kid, especially your first kid, and you're approaching 7th grade, parents beware, this is coming. Everybody else knows it's coming apparently, but you. You're not going to be the number one voice in the classroom. It's going to be the kid, and that's for their own good. And
Yeah.
that's what to expect.